At the Black Gate of Mordor, as the forces of good and evil prepared for their final confrontation, a figure emerged that chilled viewers to the bone. Clad in black armor, speaking with cruel eloquence,
Master Sauron the Great bids thee welcome.
this herald of darkness represented something far more terrifying than any orc or troll. Here was a man who had willingly erased his own name, his identity, his very soul, all in service to the embodiment of evil itself. This is the horrifying reality of one of Middle-earth's most disturbing figures. Welcome back to our channel, fellow travelers of Middle-earth. Today we delve into one of Tolkien's most chilling and mysterious characters, the Mouth of Sauron. Who is this terrifying herald of the Dark Lord? What drove him to surrender his very identity in service to evil? How did a man become nothing more than an extension of Sauron's malevolent will? When I first saw the Mouth of Sauron in the movies, I always wondered who he was. That imposing figure in black armor, speaking with such cruel eloquence at the Black Gate, left me with so many questions. Was he once a normal person? What was his story? How did he become this nightmarish servant of darkness? Today, we're going to explore everything Tolkien revealed about this enigmatic character and uncover the deeper meanings behind his creation. Before we begin this dark journey, if you're enjoying our deep dives into Middle-earth lore, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that like button. A simple click means the world to us and helps us continue bringing you these detailed explorations of Tolkien's incredible mythology. In the vast mythology of Middle-earth, few characters embody pure malevolence and corruption as completely as the figure known as the Mouth of Sauron. This sinister herald of the Dark Lord represents one of Tolkien's most chilling creations, a being who has surrendered his very identity to serve evil incarnate. To understand the Mouth of Sauron is to glimpse into the depths of corruption possible when one willingly embraces darkness and abandons all traces of their former humanity. The Mouth of Sauron appears in Tolkien's The Return of the King, the final volume of The Lord of the Rings, though his presence casts a shadow that extends far beyond his brief but memorable appearance. He serves as Sauron's lieutenant and chief messenger, a role that places him among the highest ranks of the Dark Lord's servants. Unlike the Nazgûl, who were corrupted by the 9 rings of power, or the orcs, who were bred for evil, the Mouth of Sauron represents something perhaps more disturbing, a man who chose his path of corruption willingly and completely. When we first encounter this terrifying figure, he appears at the Black Gate of Mordor as the herald of Sauron during the final confrontation between the forces of good and evil. Tolkien describes him as a living man, yet one so thoroughly corrupted that he has forgotten his own name and identity. This loss of name is particularly significant in Tolkien's world, where names carry power and meaning. To lose one's name is to lose one's essential self, and the Mouth of Sauron has surrendered this most fundamental aspect of his being in service to his Dark Master. The physical description of the Mouth of Sauron is both grotesque and symbolic. He is tall and imposing, clad in black robes and armor, with a great helm that conceals most of his face except for his mouth. This mouth, from which he takes his title, is described as cruel and filled with malice. The emphasis on his mouth as his defining feature is no accident. It represents his role as the voice of Sauron, the means by which the Dark Lord's will is communicated to the world. In losing his name and identity, he has become nothing more than an instrument of his master's voice, a living embodiment of Sauron's malevolent intentions. The Mouth of Sauron's origins are shrouded in mystery, as befits a character who has deliberately erased his own past. Tolkien tells us that he was once a man, one of the Black Númenóreans who served Sauron in the Second Age. The Black Númenóreans were descendants of the great island kingdom of Númenor, who had been corrupted by Sauron's influence during his time on their island. When Númenor fell, due to their pride and rebellion against the Valar, some of its people survived and settled in Middle-earth, where they continued to serve the Dark Lord. These Black Númenóreans represented a particularly tragic form of corruption, because they came from a noble lineage. Númenor had been blessed by the Valar, and was the greatest kingdom of men in the Second Age. Its people were wise, skilled, and lived longer than ordinary men. Yet their pride and desire for immortality made them susceptible to Sauron's manipulations. The Black Númenóreans, who served Sauron after the fall of their homeland, carried with them both the knowledge and skills of their great civilization and the bitter corruption that had led to its destruction. The Mouth of Sauron is described as being one of these Black Númenóreans, which means he possessed the enhanced lifespan and abilities of his people. This longevity is crucial to understanding his character, as it suggests he has served Sauron for potentially thousands of years. During this vast span of time, he has gradually surrendered every aspect of his original identity, until nothing remains but his function as Sauron's voice. This process of corruption was not sudden, but gradual, making it all the more horrifying as we contemplate the slow erosion of his humanity over the centuries. The title, Mouth of Sauron itself, carries deep symbolic weight. In becoming Sauron's mouth, this being has literally become an extension of the Dark Lord's will. He no longer speaks his own thoughts, or expresses his own desires, but serves purely as a conduit for Sauron's malice. This complete subjugation of self represents the ultimate goal of evil in Tolkien's world, not merely to destroy good, but to corrupt it so thoroughly that it becomes a willing instrument of destruction. During his appearance at the Black Gate, the Mouth of Sauron serves as more than just a herald. He becomes an instrument of psychological warfare. He produces items that belong to Frodo and Sam, including Frodo's mithril shirt, Sam's sword, and an elven cloak, suggesting that the hobbits have been captured or killed. This revelation is designed to crush the morale of Aragorn and the other leaders of the West, demonstrating the Mouth of Sauron's understanding of how to inflict psychological torture alongside physical threats. The cruel pleasure the Mouth of Sauron takes in this psychological torment reveals another aspect of his character. He has not merely been corrupted into serving evil, he actively enjoys causing suffering and despair. This sadistic pleasure in others' pain represents the complete inversion of empathy and compassion that characterizes Tolkien's vision of evil. Where good seeks to heal and restore, evil seeks to wound and destroy. And the Mouth of Sauron embodies this destructive impulse perfectly. His interaction with Gandalf during this scene is particularly telling. When Gandalf demands the return of the prisoners, the Mouth of Sauron responds with mockery and threats, demonstrating his complete confidence in Sauron's power. He speaks as one who believes himself to be on the winning side of an inevitable victory, revealing the arrogance that often accompanies such complete corruption. This arrogance, however, also reveals a fundamental blindness to the possibility of good triumphing over evil, a blindness that ultimately contributes to Sauron's downfall. The language and manner of the Mouth of Sauron's speech reflect his corruption. He speaks with eloquence and intelligence, showing that his original capabilities have not been diminished by his service to evil. However, this intelligence has been twisted into cunning and malice. His words are chosen to cause maximum pain and despair, and his eloquence serves only to make his cruelty more effective. This perversion of noble qualities into instruments of evil is a recurring theme in Tolkien's work, reflecting his belief that corruption often works by twisting good things rather than simply destroying them. The Mouth of Sauron's role as a lieutenant of Sauron places him in a unique position within the hierarchy of evil in Middle-earth. Unlike the Nazgûl, who have become wraiths, enslaved by their rings, he retains his physical form and, presumably, his free will. This makes his corruption even more disturbing, as it represents a conscious choice to serve evil rather than a magical compulsion. He has chosen to surrender his identity and humanity in exchange for power and position within Sauron's realm. This voluntary nature of his corruption connects to broader themes in Tolkien's work about the nature of evil and free will. Tolkien consistently portrayed evil as a choice rather than a force that compels obedience. Even the most corrupted characters in his stories, from Saruman to the Mouth of Sauron, retain some element of choice in their actions. This makes their evil more morally significant and their punishment more just, as they have actively chosen their path rather than being forced into it. The Mouth of Sauron's fate after Sauron's defeat is not explicitly described in Tolkien's published works, but we can infer much from the broader narrative. With Sauron's destruction, his realm of Mordor collapses, and his servants are scattered or destroyed. As a being whose entire identity was tied to serving Sauron, the Mouth of Sauron would likely face a complete existential crisis with his master's defeat. Having surrendered his name and identity so completely, he would have nothing left to sustain him without Sauron's will to guide him. This fate represents a form of poetic justice in Tolkien's moral universe. Those who surrender their identity in service to evil ultimately discover that they have nothing left when evil fails. The temporary power and position they gained through their corruption proves to be an illusion, leaving them with less than nothing when their master falls. This theme reinforces Tolkien's belief in the ultimate futility of evil and the importance of maintaining one's moral identity even in the face of great temptation. The Mouth of Sauron also serves as a dark mirror to other characters in The Lord of the Rings, where Aragorn represents the rightful king who accepts his destiny reluctantly but completely. The Mouth of Sauron represents someone who has embraced power without righteousness, where Gandalf serves as a guide and counselor who helps others find their own strength. The Mouth of Sauron serves as a herald of despair who seeks to crush hope. These contrasts help illuminate the choices that define character in Tolkien's world. The symbolism of the Mouth of Sauron extends beyond his individual character to represent broader themes about communication and truth. As Sauron's voice, he speaks only lies and threats, representing the corruption of language itself. In Tolkien's world, words have power, and the ability to speak truly is closely connected to goodness and wisdom. The Mouth of Sauron represents the perversion of this power, using eloquence and intelligence to spread despair rather than hope. His black armor and imposing presence also connect him to medieval traditions of the Black Knight or Dark Herald, figures who represent the perversion of chivalric ideals. Where true knights serve justice and protect the innocent, the Mouth of Sauron serves tyranny and threatens the helpless. This connection to literary and mythological traditions helps place his character within the broader context of Western storytelling about good and evil. The relatively brief appearance of the Mouth of Sauron in the narrative demonstrates Tolkien's skill at creating memorable characters through vivid description and symbolic resonance rather than extended development. In just a few pages, he creates a figure who embodies themes of corruption, loss of identity, the ultimate futility of serving evil. This efficiency of characterization reflects Tolkien's understanding that sometimes the most powerful characters are those who appear briefly but leave a lasting impression. The Mouth of Sauron's relationship with his master also illuminates the nature of Sauron's rule. Unlike a traditional monarch who might inspire loyalty through charisma or just rule, Sauron commands obedience through fear and the promise of power. The Mouth of Sauron's complete submission to his master's will demonstrates the totalitarian nature of evil in Tolkien's world, where individual identity and free thought are seen as threats to be eliminated. In analyzing the Mouth of Sauron's character, we must also consider what Tolkien chose not to tell us about him. We never learn his original name, his specific history, or the exact circumstances of his corruption. This deliberate vagueness serves to make him more rather than less frightening, as our imagination fills in the gaps with possibilities that may be worse than any specific details could be. He becomes a figure of pure function rather than personality, which is perhaps the most disturbing thing about him. The Mouth of Sauron represents one of Tolkien's most successful creations of pure evil, because he avoids the trap of making evil glamorous or attractive. There is nothing romantic or appealing about a being who has so completely surrendered his identity that he has become merely an instrument of his master's will. His fate serves as a warning about the ultimate consequences of choosing power over principle and serving evil over good. As Tolkien wrote in The Return of the King, the Mouth of Sauron was a living man, yet filled with malice. This simple description encapsulates the horror of his character. He retains his humanity in form, while abandoning it completely in spirit. He represents the darkest possibility of human choice, the complete surrender of self in service to evil. In conclusion, the Mouth of Sauron stands as one of literature's most effective representations of corruption and the loss of identity in service to evil. Through this character, Tolkien explores themes of free will, the nature of corruption, and the ultimate futility of serving darkness. Though he appears only briefly in the narrative, his impact is lasting, serving as a chilling reminder of what we might become if we surrender our principles and identity in pursuit of power. His story is ultimately a tragedy, the tale of someone who gained the world but lost his soul, and in doing so, became less than nothing when his dark master finally fell. Thank you for joining us on this dark exploration of one of Middle-earth's most terrifying characters. If you found this deep dive into the Mouth of Sauron fascinating, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Your support through a simple click means the world to us and helps us continue creating detailed analysis of Tolkien's incredible world. What other dark characters from Middle-earth would you like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next adventure through Middle-earth.